Hello beautiful strangers, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Harmony May and today I'm going to be showing you how to make the viral piano skirt. I've been seeing this all over Pinterest, I saw it on TikTok, Instagram, like I've been seeing this everywhere and I feel like it's very cute for fall. I don't know why, but it does give me like fall vibes. I did make this once before. I posted on my TikTok and everyone was like, oh, we want a tutorial. I was just gonna make a TikTok one, but I made a tutorial on TikTok for another skirt and it ended up being a lot longer. So I was like, maybe we'll just switch over to YouTube. But this one I messed up a little bit. I wasn't counting my stitches for the actual piano part, so like this is where it ended. Like I just did one long rectangle and obviously this is where I started and then it just decreased as I went on. So it's a little bit shorter here. So I'm gonna be fixing that, and then also this is just straight double crochet, so it is see-through, which I don't quite mind because I know I wear black like safety shorts under anyways, but today I will be making it single crochet so it's actually not opaque. I don't use any type of special yarn for bottoms specifically because I don't really feel them anyways with one wearing shorts, and also it's like I don't ever feel it, and also when I do I don't have a lot of sensory issues when it comes to different types of yarn. So we're just going to be using, this is Red Heart I believe, and then this is just like the Walmart brand black yarn. You guys can use whatever. These are like weight for nothing special. This is, I feel like this is like the default yarn. I'm going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook. I like using this with the weight 4 yarn because I feel like the stitches come out like nicer than using, I think the recommended one is a 5mm, but this is my size of choice. Alright, so I've moved you guys over to just the top of my bed. I feel like this is the best way to show you how I'm working on this. I feel like this is the best angle. So we're going to start by doing our actual piano portion. For this I didn't actually use a grid, but I will make one and put it on the screen for you. But I just started by making a slip stitch, and then we're going to be chaining 21. And then once you have your chain of 21, you're just going to do single crochets starting in the second chain away from your hook. Once you've gotten to your last stitch and you've already like yarned over and pulled through, instead of finishing off the stitch with the white, we're going to go straight in with the black yarn. And for color changes, if you're not familiar with them, I just attach it to my hook and then pull through, and then I just make sure to tighten the white and then tighten the black yarn, and then that's how you finish off your stitch. And then I just chain one to start the new row and then switch it around and start working. For this whole panel it's going to be back loop only, so it becomes kind of like a ribbed pattern, but we're only going to single crochet with the black for 13 stitches. Once you've reached your 13th stitch, like you did with the end of the last row, you're not gonna finish it off, you're just gonna yarn over and pull through. You should be left with 7 more stitches of the first row left, and then you're going to actually switch back to your white. And I just do it the way like I think this is tapestry crochet. If you're not really familiar / confident in tapestry crochet, I don't know if this is a pattern for you, but you go ahead and try it. I believe in you. So I'm just bringing the white yarn from beginning of the end of the last row and yarning over and finishing off the last black stitch with that. And then making sure you pick a side where you want all of your excess yarn from switching colors and having that be like the dedicated side for it, so you have a clean side on the other side for like the actual front of your piece. And then we're just going to finish off the rest of this row with the white yarn. Once you finish that row, you're just going to chain 1 and then do 7 stitches of the white until you reach back to the black from the row before. And then once you've gotten halfway through your white stitch, you're going to drop that yarn and pick back up the black yarn and finish out your stitch with that. And just remember to tighten every single time you switch colors so nothing gets too loose. And then you're going to finish out the row with the black yarn. And starting the next row, you're not going to do any color switches or anything. You're just going to finish off your last stitch and then chain 1 and then flip your work and do 13 more black stitches. And then just like the row before, once you've gotten to your last black stitch, you're just going to switch over to your white yarn. Alright, and then that's going to finish our first piano key. So for each key, I like to do 3 rows of the black, and then the actual pianos have like 1 key on by itself at the end, and then it's 2, 3, 2, 3 for like the rest of it. So in between each section of keys, since this one's alone, we're gonna do 3 rows of just white single crochet, and I will come back to you when I'm finished with that. Alright, and then once you get to your last single crochet stitch, you're going to do the same thing you did with the first row and switch over to your black, and then do the same thing you did for the first one. I'll show you again just in case. You're going to chain 1 and then flip your work over and then do 13 single crochets into the back loops only. Once you reach your last black stitch, you're going to switch back over to your white yarn and finish out the row doing 7 more white stitches. Right, and then you're going to work this the same way you worked this first one, and do 7 white stitches, then 13, switch your work, do 13 more black stitches, and then finish off that last row of this piano key, and then I will come back to you when I finish that one. Alright, so now that you have your second piano key done, we are just going to do 1 row of white stitches because this is going to be our first like set, and it's just going to be 2 next to each other, but we're just going to do 1 white row of single crochets in the back loop, and I will come back to you when that's done. Alright, so I just finished the 1 row of white single crochets. I'm just going to do another piano key right now. This is a very repetitive pattern. It's something that you can just kind of go on autopilot and do, but it's going to be the same thing as the first 2. You're going to do 3 rows of 13 black stitches finished by 3 rows of the 7 white stitches, and then I will come back to you when that one's done. Alright, so now that you have the second piano key done, you can see I kind of messed up. I started tucking in my yarn and actually like crocheting over it so that we didn't have all these loose ends in the back. I messed up a little bit there and didn't pull it enough. Like I said, this is a really repetitive pattern, so you're going to do just another 3 rows of the single crochet just straight white to finish off this like section of keys, and then you're going to do a section of 3. Like I said, I'll put the actual grid pattern that I make on the screen, but I don't want this video to get too repetitive and then you guys are like, shut the frick up. So I'm just going to do the row or do the section of 3 keys, and then I'll come back and show you what it's looking like. And I think I'll just give you guys little updates here and there, just so that it doesn't get too repetitive, but you can still like follow along and see what I'm doing. Alright, so this is the like first set of piano keys done. The whole part of this skirt is just going to be repeating the 2 and 3 like set of piano keys like it has in the pattern. But yeah, again, for the set of 3, I just did 3 white single crochets in between like the sets of each piano keys, and then 3 black single crochets, and then 1 row of white, 3 black, 1 row of white, 3 black, and then 3 more rows of white, and then I'm going to do another 2 piano keys over, and I'm just going to be repeating that the whole way around. And then I'll just check back up with you guys every like section I finish just to get little updates on what I'm doing. Alright, so here is it with another like section done. Each of these sections is about 6 inches from like the start of the set of 2 to the end of the 3 is about 6 inches. I'm pretty sure my measurements like around my butt area is 34, 35. This part, it's super easy. It's just a little time consuming with all the like color changes all the time. But yeah, I will update you guys when I finish with this whole panel. Alright, so I just finished my waistband. I did a whopping 150 rows. It actually worked out pretty quickly since there is only 20 single crochets per row, and honestly the color changes didn't slow me down as much as they usually do. But this was my last section. I did a section of 3, and then I finished it off with 2 rows of white single crochets. And then to finish off the black portion, instead of like stitching it under these stitches for the last section, I'm just gonna take my hook and then just find any black portion and kind of put it through, and then I'm just going to pull the actual yarn through and then just chain 2. And then to finish it off, I'm just going to turn it right sides in and then slip stitch the 2 ends together to create a full circle. And then to slip stitch it, I ended off the last row by just chaining 1, and then I'm just going to come in from the front and slip stitch through both chains of my last row. And then I'm kind of just going to go through all of the little spaces that you can see and slip stitch those into the change from the last row that I did. And then once I get to the last one, I'm just going to finish off the slip stitch, and then I chain 2. I know a lot of people just chain 1 and then cut off. I usually chain 2 just to make sure it's extra secure, and then cut it right off. Okay, and now you should have the full bottom part of your skirt all sewn together in a nice little circle, and we're going to be starting on the actual main body of the skirt now. And then to start, I'm just going to be putting my hook through the seam that we just sewed together, and taking my black yarn and going through with it and just tying it right into there. And then we're gonna do 1 single crochet per each like row of stitches. So it'll be 150 single crochets total for this first row. We're going to start by just chaining 1 and then finding our stitches from like the end of each row and just going straight into those. And this is where these being like exactly like these are all 3, this is all 1, it's a lot easier to find them because you know exactly how many you should have. So if you can't find a stitch or like the middle of a stitch perfectly, you can still count out how many are supposed to be in that specific section. Alright, so I've just finished the black row single crochets. Now is when you're going to be deciding which side will be the front or the back, or what area you want to be the front or the back, especially if you got a little bit of ass on ya, because I do. And if I just made a straight rectangle on top of this, my butt would be out, or the skirt would be a lot longer than I would like it to be from the front. So obviously you can use a stitch marker for this. I just usually take whatever side my seam is on and then the opposite side of that and kind of pick from one of those two. I don't have any stitch markers because I know if I get them I will lose them, so I usually just take a piece of scrap yarn and put it kind of just inside one of the stitches, and then I'll just tie it off so that I know where my where the difference is between the front and back of the skirt. So starting with the front of the skirt, I'm just going to start by chaining 1, and then I'm just doing single crochets through the whole front until I reach my stitch marker or my little piece of yarn there. Because the front of the skirt is just going to be completely flat, like nothing done to it except for single crochets. Alright, so once I reach the stitch with the stitch marker, I'm going to just start doing half double crochets for the remainder of this row until I reach the beginning again. I feel like half double crochets and single crochets look about alike, and again, black yarn is very forgiving when it comes to like mistakes or different stitches. So we're just going to do half double crochets the remainder of this row. This is what the first, I guess technically 2 rows are looking like. Obviously there's not a very big difference between the front and the back right now because it's only 1 row of the half double crochets, but as we work up you will see that the back is going to be longer than the front side. So again, for this row we're going to just do single crochets until we reach our stitch marker right here, and then I will see you when I'm done with that. Now that we're back at our stitch marker, for the rest of these half double crochet rows I am going to be decreasing by 2 stitches so that I don't have to put a waistband on the skirt because I don't personally like the way waistbands look. For the decreases, I'm going to yarn over and then go through my stitch and pull through, and then yarn over and just pull through 2, and then again yarn over, go through my stitch, pull through, and then I'm going to pull through all of them so that it decreases and 2 become 1, and then I'm just going to be doing half double crochets for the rest of this row until I get to the last 2 stitches, and then I'm going to decrease again. I've reached my last 2 stitches, so we're going to do the decrease just like we did before. yarning over and pulling through, and then only going through the first 2 stitches, and then yarning over, going in and pulling through, and then going through all of the stitches, and then slip stitching into the chain 1 space from your first single crochet. And that's what we're going to do for the next few rows. I'll show you where I'm decreasing exactly on this next upcoming row, and then I will update you guys when I know exactly how many rows I'm doing this for, just because I'm going along with it just like you guys are. So yeah, I'll show you one more time, and then I will update you with how many rows I end up doing. Again, for the front of the skirt, we're just doing single crochets, no decreases, increases. That's just how it's going to be. For the rest of the skirt is just single crochets on the front facing part of the panel. But yeah, just single crochets. Alright, so we're back at our initial decrease stitch. So what I do to decrease for all of the other rows is I'm going to decrease using the first decrease stitch and then the stitch directly after that. I'm not sure if people decrease using the stitch before it, but I use the stitch right after that. So the decreases they'll end up going diagonal, but they'll go diagonal towards the back. And I just like the way that looks a lot better. So when you decrease, you're going to be decreasing with the stitch from the row before and then the stitch right after it. And then again, that's all you're going to be doing for the rest of the body of the skirt. It's a nice, quick, and easy pattern, but I will update you guys when I know exactly how many rows I'm doing to finish off my skirt. And of course, this is based off my personal preferences. I usually like a low to mid-rise skirt. I know some people like a high-rise. A lot of the ones I've been seeing on Pinterest were high-rise skirts, but I will update you guys when I figure out how many rows I'm going to do mine. Alright, so it's a couple days later. I'm getting close to finishing my skirt. This is what it's looking like so far with the waistband and everything. One issue I'm having though is that I can tell this part is not like coming up diagonally as much and like hugging my body as much as I would like it to. So I am going to be doing some decreases in the middle of like the back panel of the skirt so that it actually hugs my body. I'm hoping I don't have to put a waistband in this, but if it comes down to that, it is what it is. But I will show you where I'm putting the decreases in the skirt to give myself more of a like skin tight skirt. And again, this is all based off of your body type. Since I have a little bit of a butt, please don't come for me. I'm not saying I have a fatty, but I have to do a little bit more so that it's still like a mini skirt in the front and I get full coverage in the back. So this is my back panel off of my body. And obviously we've been doing the decreases on the 2 like side seams, but I think what I'm going to do is measure out or like fold it and just see where the middle is, and then also like the middle of the middle and the side, if that makes sense. So like I'll have 3 places of decreasing along the waistband for the rest of the project. And you can even see now, just with me holding it up, that having the half double crochets in the back does give it some more length. This is it with the tops like right next to each other, so it is giving it more length. Obviously I'm going to add a few more rows. I have 14 rows right now, so, and I'm still going to add a few more so that it does hug my body tighter at the waistband. But yeah, it's coming together nicely. Okay guys, it's been like 2 weeks. My braids are out. I've had the skirt finished. I've just been really lazy and not wanting to film a outro, but here she is. She's beauty, she's grace, she's very short. That's how I like it. That's her full length. I'm not sure if you could see it with the black shirt, but she's cute and she covers my butt fully. I don't have to worry about any slippage or anything, and I'm wearing shorts underneath this, so it's like extra coverage. She's very cute. She did work up in about like a week, I'd say. I just have been procrastinating. So, but if you enjoyed this tutorial, let me know. I will definitely be making other ones for some of my other patterns and stuff that I made, because I don't really know how to write patterns. So I'll just make YouTube tutorials because that's what I know how to do. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched this far, I'm very grateful. And make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more of me. But yeah, that's all for today. Bye.